Hello and welcome to another episode of David Rides a Trike. I'm David, I'm riding a trike. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, I try to provide a little motivation for people to get outside and do something fun, especially those with chronic illnesses or diseases or disabilities. Going outside and doing something you enjoy is fun, it makes you feel good, and it takes your mind off your medical woes for a while. Personally, I was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic when I was a year and a half old. I've had 3 organ transplants, stage 3 cancer, borderline legally blind, and a bunch of other things that I won't get into. Today, we're approaching mid-October, and I figured it would be a good time to talk about warm weather riding versus cold weather riding. Here in Chicago, it could change in the blink of an eye. Last year, around this time, we had beautiful temperatures like we do right now. And then on Halloween, we had 2 inches of snow. So things can change quickly. I'll start off with warm weather riding, which is my preferred method. I do some cool weather riding. That is, I'll ride down until the temperature gets into the mid or even low 40s, which is, I guess, around 7-8 degrees Celsius. Excuse me. But primarily I enjoy the warm weather. The first thing I enjoy about warm weather riding is fewer clothes. Now, I know that sounds like an attempt for a cheap laugh. Maybe it was, but I really mean it. In the summer, you could throw on a pair of shorts, a t-shirt, or cycling shorts, and a cycling jersey if you're riding, and that's how you like to dress, and head outside. As opposed to the winter where you have to put on layers and layers and layers. There's also a good feeling, I guess, a feeling of some kind of freedom riding with fewer clothes. It's just easier and lighter and nice. The second thing I like about warm weather riding is how green everything is. Right now around here in the Chicago area, as we're approaching fall, the leaves are starting to fall and we're going from green to gold and yellow and red, but there's still a good amount of green around. And whether you ride on a trail that goes through forests or pastures, or you ride out on country roads, and even in the cities there are patches of green, and green is comforting. It's fun to ride in when you have all that lush green flora around you. The third thing I'm going to talk about, bear with me here, I'm going up a pretty steep incline for this bridge. Hey, going uphill on bridges, going uphill on a recumbent is a lot different than on a regular bike because you don't have any weight over the rear wheel, and that's what's providing the traction. So anyhow, the third thing about riding in the warmer weather is there are more animals out. Depending on where you live, can range from large animals like cows and horses and deer and elk to middle-sized mammals, raccoons, porcupines, foxes, down to smaller rodents, squirrels, rabbits, and then all the birds in the summertime. Birds and hawks. There are actually quite a few hawks around this area. And all the way down to turtles and snakes and spiders and insects, if you like that type of thing. Personally, I do. I know not everyone does. The fourth major benefit, as far as I'm concerned, to riding in the warmer weather is the warmer weather normally takes place in the spring and summer and early fall, and there's a lot more daylight then. More daylight means more time to get outside and do what you enjoy. Even if you're working a full day, in the summer you could get out early before work, or depending on how late you work, when you get home you could go out for an hour or two, even 3, depending on what your day is like when you get out and when you get home. So having all that available daylight is great. There are benefits to riding at night. It's fun, but I think most people prefer to get out during the day. The fifth and final pro about riding in the warmer weather is your body warms up to the exercise more quickly. And it's sort of hard to explain because your body always is at the same temperature, 98.6, give or take. Even in the cold weather, you go out, that's what your body temperature is at. However, in the colder weather, it does take longer for your muscles to warm up, to start moving, and as you get older, for your joints to get a little more lubricated and flowing more freely. So there's that. Now, as for the benefits of cold weather riding, and I'll define cold weather riding as temperatures in the mid to low 30-degree Fahrenheit, it's a couple degrees Celsius range, and lower. First pro about cold weather riding is if you ride on a trail, chances are you're going to have large portions of the trail to yourself because there are a lot fewer people out. Now, I'll admit I don't ride a lot on the trails in the colder weather. The main reason is this trail, once it starts getting colder, the forest preserve vehicles drive up and down it somewhat frequently to perform maintenance, and they tend to really tear the trail up. So it gets really rutted and bumpy. Plus the fat tire bikes come out in the colder weather, which do the same thing to a lesser extent. Now, there's always that option. There are fat tire bikes that will go over or through just about anything. There are actually fat tire trikes out there too. So a lot of people do purchase a fat tire bike or trike so that they could ride comfortably through the colder weather. The second thing about riding in the cold is, while some of the animals go away, the birds, the insects, the reptiles and amphibians, some of the mammals, many of them remain. And because there's much less foliage, they're a lot easier to spot out in the wild, which is pretty cool. It's usually in the colder weather when I'll spot a coyote or two. Deer are a little easier to spot. So you get the picture. The third thing about riding in the cold is you can be pretty comfortable. With today's clothing technology, and I'm sure you're well aware of dressing in layers for the cold, you can dress to keep yourself pretty warm. Plus, there are luxuries like chemical hand and foot warmers, or even electric gloves and socks. Last winter Last winter I purchased a pair of electric gloves, and they are great. I love them. It's one of the best investments I've ever made. The fourth thing about riding in the winter is riding outdoors always beats riding indoors. Yeah, it's a lot easier in the winter to ride an exercise bike or walk on a treadmill or ride a bike on rollers. And admittedly, that's what I do for the bulk of the cold weather. But I'll get out for a few cold weather rides. And the thing is, riding indoors, yes, it's more comfortable, but it's also extremely boring. Even if you have a sophisticated system like a Zwift, where you have a screen showing you where you're riding and you have scenery, riding indoors gets old and boring very quickly. When I ride indoors, I ride on a pair of rollers that are made for the Trike, and I listen to an audiobook, but it's great. But even an hour doing that gets really tiresome. Whereas if you're outside, you could go for a lot longer, and it keeps your mind stimulated to a much greater extent. Then the final thing about riding outdoors in the cold weather is you become well, not just riding, but riding or walking or doing any kind of exercise in the cold, cross-country skiing or skiing. You become a member of a pretty exclusive club. Not many people head outside in the colder weather to exercise. Typically they do it either at home or in gyms and stay away from the cold weather. So there's a little satisfaction in saying, yeah, I'm one of those people. I go outside, I exercise, and I enjoy it. Well, that is about it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope maybe I was able to give you a little information. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the thumbs up icon below the video. Leave me a comment, would be great. Please subscribe to my channel. And after you subscribe, hit that little notification bell so you'll be alerted when a new video of mine comes out. Also below in the description there are links to all the equipment that I use. If you're considering purchasing any, I'd appreciate it if you did it through those links. I get a small stipend for each thing that's sold. You don't pay anything more, and the price you pay is the lowest price you're going to find out there. That's it. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you on the next ride. Bye-bye. appreciate it if you did it through those